100% untrue. I was vicious in my criticism of Bashar al-Assad. I've criticized Hamas over and over again, and I think what they did in the attack against Israel was reprehensible. But for God's sake, how long are you going to occupy these people? For me, the idea of Israelis and Palestinians or Muslims or Jews being different is absurd. Those are just stupid labels that we put on people. They're all human beings. I value the Israeli life just as much as I value the Palestinian life. We're all human. Stop using these nonsense labels
let me ask
to
you a
kill
question.
each other. And all this guy wants to do is more murder of Palestinians.
Cenk, let me ask
when are you going to let them go?
Cenk, let me ask you a question. You mentioned genocide there. What Hamas is actually in its charter dedicated to doing is the purest personification of genocide. Well, it is. They want to see the eradication of Israel, and they proved on October the 7th they will kill as many Jews as they can possibly get their hands on. So that is pure genocide. What Israel is doing in return, I don't think meets the category of genocide. Right, because they don't want to get rid of every Palestinian. They don't want to kill every Palestinian.
No,
they want to kill every Hamas terrorist. Now, there are legitimate question marks about how they're going about this and about the civilian casualties. But there is a moral distinction between what Hamas is dedicated to doing and what Israel is dedicated to doing, isn't there?
No. First of all, Hamas is a bunch of idiots. They should take that stuff out of their charter. All it does is hurt the Palestinian cause.
I agree.
There's no call for it. It's dumb and it's immoral. But Hamas claims that they would like to do these things, and from time to time they do these attacks that are horrible and they should never do. But Israel actually kills Palestinians, actually occupies Palestine, actually denies the Palestinians a state. So there's this absurd talk of like, oh, if Hamas was super powerful, they might deny Israel its existence. Except Israel does exist. And the Palestinian state does not exist because Israel is blocking their state. So stop using, I'm not saying it to you, Pierce, but this propaganda, hold on.
You know, Cenk, you and I are almost the same age, and I'm actually quite worried for how upset you get on TV. You got to protect your health. You're just kind of losing it. Now, calm down.
Because I'm upset that you keep advocating for the murder of civilians.
Cenk, you have to stop yelling.
I'm sorry, man, but I think that was really disingenuous. I don't think he's really worried about Cenk's health at all whatsoever. Additionally, the question is what is happening in Gaza a genocide? I'm going to defend that position, but before we do that, I want to address this ridiculous talking point. So, I wrote down somewhere that I would like to kill everybody in my neighborhood. Every single one. Right? In the last year, I've killed exactly 2 people in the neighborhood. But I have written down that I want to kill everybody in the neighborhood. Now, in response to the last time that I killed someone in my neighborhood, there is a group of people, some neighborhood watch, that have slaughtered my entire family, and they're going house to house, going after anyone who is associated with me in any way whatsoever, right? And as this slaughter is occurring, right, and it's been going on for weeks, there's a group of people who don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about the 2 people that I killed some time ago, right? And they want to talk about something that I wrote down on a piece of paper about I want to kill the entire neighborhood, right? As families, entire families are being wiped out on a daily basis, they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about what I wrote down as opposed to what someone's actually doing. And back to the actual scenario we're talking about. So what was written by Hamas is more overtly genocidal than what Israel is actually doing. But your actions have more weight than your words, right? So, which is a bigger problem? that someone was more overtly genocidal in their rhetoric, or that someone is quite genocidal in their actions? The bloodshed of thousands of civilians? Is that a bigger deal? Or is a vision of a desire to do the same written on a document somewhere? I think a rational person would say that the actual seemingly genocidal acts by Israel that's happening now on a daily basis, has been happening for over a month, I think has much bigger weight than whatever ridiculous vision that Hamas has. What if Hamas has a vision that they want to take over the entire planet? Right? Imagine in their charter, they say, we think Muslims should rule the planet. We want to take over the entire planet. What kind of person would mention that fact, that they wrote that down somewhere, as thousands of civilians are being slaughtered? The fact that that's in their charter becomes irrelevant the minute that thousands of civilians are being slaughtered. I'm sorry. I think that's the rational analysis. Now, as far as whether this is a genocide or not, on the surface, it certainly seems very genocidal, right? I will give them that for sure. Almost all the evidence is pointing to that this is in fact a genocide, right? Is it actually one? First of all, let's clarify what genocide means. The deliberate and systematic destruction of a racial, and this is the thing, when you talk about issues of race, people get they get this extremist view. They like people, everyone understands it's racist if I think another race is inferior to me, but they won't recognize it if I think that other race is superior to me, even though that's just as racist, right? Everyone will recognize it's racist for someone to, I don't want to hire any Jews, or I don't want to hire any black people. Everyone will recognize that, but no one will recognize how racist it is to have a preference to hire Asians because you think they're good at math, right? We focus on the most extreme definition or interpretation of a word for some reason, and that blocks all judgment. That's the only thing we can think of or see. We don't recognize what the thing actually is, right? In terms of racism or being racist, having to believe that a person's race is the most important sort of characteristics that defines who they are, right? So as opposed to you as an individual, let me get to know you and see what you're about. I believe you're a black and black people are this way, positive or negative. You're an Asian people are this way, positive or negative, right? I'm putting your skin over your individual. That is the essence of being racist, right? But again, people only focus on the hateful part of it, right? So in terms of genocidal, I think a lot of people who say it's not genocide, they would argue that they're not trying to kill all Muslims, right? And they would contrast it with, Hitler trying to actually kill the Jews. He actually was actually racial. That was the whole thing, right? But as you can see in the definition, it's not only racist or racial, right? Systematic destruction of racial, everybody knows that part, but do we know about political or cultural group, right? So it's not just about skin color. There's also political and cultural parts of it. Oxford says the deliberate killing of a large number of people, that's definitely happening. So we know that, we've satisfied that part of a genocide. From a particular nation, well, not really a nation, or ethnic group, with the aim of destroying that nation or group. So it's a little bit complicated. That's why what Hamas said was more overtly genocidal. If you look at it, it's kind of like, okay, this is textbook genocide. This now, it's a little nuanced, right? In the definition, they say nation, but we have this weird thing where they're not recognized as a country, they're not recognized as a nation, but they kind of are, right? I mean, they are not Egyptians and they're not Israelis, right? We say they're Palestinians, right? So even though they're not formally a nation, in terms of relevant to the definition of genocide, I think we would say that it fits, right? If we dive a little deeper in Wiki, it says genocide is an intentional destruction of a people in whole or in part. So the in whole or in part is another part of the nuance that people who reject that label are missing. They would, again, they focus on the most extreme version, right? So it'd be like, I want to kill all Muslims, every single one, wipe them off the face of the earth, right? And since clearly that's not what, Israel is trying to do, they're like, okay, it's not a genocide. But it doesn't have to be that extreme, right? In whole or in part, right? So in this case, if Israel is trying to destroy all of the Palestinians within the Gaza Strip, right? All of the Palestinians within the Gaza Strip, right? That sounds a lot like genocide. Now, people like to give the rebuttal of that they're Palestinians in Israel and they're part of the government. Not relevant. Not relevant at all. Again, you don't have to want to kill every single Palestinian, right? You could just want to kill all the Palestinians within the Gaza Strip, right? And it seems like that's what they're trying to do. Some that would challenge that statement, I would say to you, what do you think they're trying to do? Okay, again, to understand things, you got to go the full path, right? You see someone doing something, follow it down the line, right? So, considering all the destruction and all the people that they've killed, and you see how they say, oh, ceasefire, that means that they win. That means Hamas wins. Even after killing all those people, somehow you get this ridiculous statement coming from the IDF that would make Hamas win. Think about that for a second. In what situation do you get to inflict 10 times the damage as someone did on you, and somehow they win? Like, I killed one family member from you, you killed 10 of mine, and because you stopped at 10 and you didn't continue killing more, I win? What? Makes no sense. Unless, of course, why do you get to these kinds of ideas? Unless you're actually trying to do a genocide. And if you're trying to do a genocide, then stopping before it's complete would be a failure on your part. Right? And you have to consider another perspective. You don't kill this amount of people, destroy entire families, multiple generations of families, destroy all these homes and hospitals and churches, synagogues. You don't do that level of destruction and then just stop and then we move on, right? This kind of destruction leads to more terrorism, right? The IDF is not stupid. I mean, this amount of slaughter is historic, massively historic. So what will be the implications of doing this level of slaughter against the Palestinians? Obviously, the same Hamas that slaughtered those people on October 7th, they're not less motivated to do such a thing after this. They're not more challenged to recruit more terrorists than they were on October 7th. They would be more emboldened to recruit more terrorists and more emboldened to do what they did on October 7th, even worse. And the IDF must know this. Right? So think about it. Follow it down the line. What is the logical endpoint here? You cannot slaughter this amount of people and then just stop. You've got to complete the task. Right? And then the question is, what is the task? To me, the task would be genocide. Genocide is the only solution that makes sense based on the actions that the IDF has taken so far. Like, what else do you think they're trying to do? Again, you cannot do this kind of slaughter and just stop. And then the idea that they're going to just locate every single Hamas, like if they, eventually they would have killed every member, that's not going to happen. Because Hamas is regenerating as a result of what they're doing. Right? Meaning, there's a young boy right now that watches his entire family destroyed that is going to be recruited into Hamas. And it's happening as I speak right now. Right? So the only way that this makes any sense, I mean, unless you think Israel is just stupid, that they think that they actually think they're going to kill all the Hamas people and then that's it and it's over and they can just walk away from this. Unless you think they're stupid. That's stupid. The only thing that makes sense is genocide. Kill them all so that none can strike back. Because otherwise there will be a strike back and it's going to be bad. If you think October 7th was bad, what you think they going to do next? And we in the United States of America, unfortunately, because of the fact that our money is going to do this, I'm sorry to say, man, we might be looking at something in our country as well. Comment below and let me know what you think. If you don't think this is a genocide, then what do you think Israel's plan is? Do you literally think that they plan to kill all the Hamas and then that's it? You think that's what it is? Like, what's the end goal, right? What is the end goal? And again, you don't have to kill every single Palestinian, right? You can make a distinction between a Palestinian that is within Israel that is friendly, right? Because again, it doesn't have to be purely racial, right? That you want to kill all Muslims. It can be national. What we want to do is kill these Palestinians within these borders, right? I mean, you think about, I guess, what's a relevant thing. So let's say America goes to war with another country, with Russia, right? Russia did some really bad things, blew up a couple of our ships, and then we're going to war with Russia, and we just bombarding them, right? And the idea is we want to destroy these Russians, right? Not saying it's a racial thing, but we're going after these Russians. So what about Russians that live within the country? Why aren't we locking them up? Right? Because they're Americans. Right? They're Americans. They're on our side. We are targeting a nation, right? And that fits within the definition of genocide. Right? So the Hamas vision is genocidal. The IDF actions is genocidal. And actions trump vision every day of the week. At least that's the way I see it. This is Baby Channel. Debate in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell.